I lent my brother $50,000 to save his family. He tried to destroy mine instead. Fake reviews, identity theft, sabotage, until he ended up in handcuffs. You won't believe how deep this betrayal went. You ever get that gut feeling that something's off, but you ignore it because it's family? Yeah. That's how this whole nightmare started. It was mid-January when my younger brother Brandon called me in a panic. I was just getting out of a meeting, my phone vibrating like crazy with missed calls and frantic texts. Please call me, it's an emergency. I thought someone had died. Turns out, his house was about to be foreclosed. His wife had lost her job 6 months ago, and he'd been covering bills on one salary while quietly racking up credit card debt trying to keep up appearances. The weird part? None of us knew. We're not a close-knit, Hallmark movie family, but we're not strangers either. We see each other on holidays, exchange group texts on birthdays, and make awkward small talk at Mom's house during Thanksgiving. So when Brandon finally confessed what was going on, I was stunned. Man, I messed up, he admitted. I just need some help to get us through the next few months. He asked for $50,000. Let me pause here to say, I'm not a millionaire. I do okay. My wife and I run a small but successful construction business. We drive used trucks, clip coupons, and pay off our credit cards monthly. That money was part of our emergency fund and some savings we'd been stacking for a fixer-upper investment property. I told him I needed to think about it. Brandon begged. I'll pay you back in 6 months. I swear, with interest. I'll even sign a contract if that makes you feel better. I talked it over with my wife, Rachel. She wasn't thrilled but said something that stuck with me. He's your brother. If the roles were reversed, wouldn't you want help? So we wired the money. 2 weeks later, I saw Brandon and his wife post pictures of a weekend ski trip in Aspen. Not a word to us. No. Thanks for saving our home. No. We're tightening our belts now. Just champagne, goggles, and resort hashtags. Rachel was furious. I tried to play devil's advocate. Maybe it was booked before all this. Maybe it's a timeshare or something. But deep down, that gut feeling started twisting again. 3 months passed. No payments. No updates. Whenever I called, it went to voicemail. When I finally got him on the phone, he sounded annoyed. Man, I told you I'd pay you back. I'm working on it. Then came the kicker. I found out he refinanced the house, without telling me, and pulled out over $80,000 in equity. And instead of repaying the loan I gave him, he'd used it to start a consulting business. Which basically meant he was posting motivational quotes on Instagram and selling overpriced ebooks. At this point, I told him flat out. Brandon, you either pay me back or we're done. I'm not playing games. He laughed. Come on, man. You gave it to me as a gift, remember? You said take care of your family. That's what I'm doing. I was stunned into silence. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Then the real war started. After that phone call, I didn't sleep right for days. I kept replaying his words over and over in my head. You said it was a gift. What kind of person twists your kindness into a debt-free payday? Rachel wanted to go nuclear. Take him to court, she said. Get it in writing. We have the bank transfer, we have the texts. He agreed it was a loan. She was right. We did everything by the book, thank God. I had Brandon's text saying, Thanks again for the loan, bro. I'll pay you back with interest. Clear as day. So I sent him one final message. If I don't see a payment plan or some kind of good faith effort by the end of the month, I'm taking legal action. No reply. But what I got instead? That's where this story takes a turn. 3 days later, my mom calls me sobbing. Why are you trying to ruin your brother's life? He told me everything. He said you're threatening to sue him over a gift. I could barely speak. Wait, what? Brandon said you've been bitter ever since he started his business, that you're jealous and trying to bring him down. He said you told him it was a gift, and now you're trying to trap him. I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. Jealous? Of a guy who lies about ski trips, scams his own brother, and sells fake motivational quotes. Mom, I said. I have it in writing. It was a loan. He begged me for help. But she wasn't hearing it. You're tearing this family apart over money. That was just the beginning. Brandon must have gone on a full-blown PR tour. My cousin Chad called me up. My aunt texted me a paragraph about forgiveness and healing. Even Rachel's own sister, who barely knew Brandon, messaged her saying we were being toxic. Then it hit me, Brandon had weaponized our family. And the cherry on top? He posted a video on Facebook. A long, rambling thing filmed from the front seat of his Tesla, sunglasses on, dramatic music playing underneath. Sometimes, the people closest to you want to see you fail. I had to learn the hard way that success attracts envy, even from blood. But I won't stop grinding. I won't stop building. I protect my energy. I protect my peace. It got over 10,000 views. The comments were brutal. Haters gonna hate. Family's the first to turn on you. Keep shining, king. Meanwhile, I was just trying to get back the money that was supposed to go toward our investment property. Our dream was slipping through our fingers, and he was playing motivational guru on the internet. Rachel and I sat down that night and made a hard decision. We were going to file a lawsuit. But before we even got the paperwork in order, Brandon made the next move. And it was worse than anything I could have imagined. Before we even got the lawsuit filed, I noticed something strange with one of our clients. It started with a casual email from a homeowner we'd recently built a porch for. Hey, I just wanted to double check. This review I saw doesn't sound like you, but figured I'd ask before showing my husband. Attached was a screenshot from a local Facebook group. Beware of shady contractors in town. And guess whose company name was mentioned? Mine. It accused us of botching a remodel, charging double after the fact, ghosting the client, and refusing to fix the damage. Complete fiction. The weird thing? The person posting it used a burner account, no profile picture, barely any history. I brushed it off at first. Figured it was a troll or maybe a competitor. Until we got another one. Then a bad Yelp review. Then a fake complaint to the BBB. All within a week. Rachel was the one who finally snapped. This is Brandon. This has his stink all over it. I thought she might be paranoid, until we checked the IP logs tied to the fake email review that came through our site's contact form. It matched the city and network of Brandon's house. My hands were shaking. I stared at the screen, then back at Rachel. He's trying to tank the business. We'd worked 10 years to build our reputation. We were small-town dependable. Word of mouth, loyal repeat customers, all of it. And my own brother was trying to torch it down because I had the nerve to ask for my money back? We brought everything to our lawyer, texts, IP logs, screenshots, even the video Brandon posted that vaguely threatened. If you come for me, I'll come back twice as hard. The lawyer nodded. We've got a case. Possibly more than one. Just when I thought I was ready to burn it all down, Rachel pulled me aside with a different idea. What if we don't go public? Not yet, she said. Let's collect everything. Quietly. Let him keep digging. So that's what we did. For the next month, we didn't say a word. But we tracked everything. Fake reviews? Archived. Harassing emails? Saved. Social posts? Screenshotted with timestamps. Even had a buddy who worked in IT help us trace a few anonymous tips that Brandon was sending to our suppliers trying to get our credit accounts frozen. It was insane. Obsessive. Like he wanted to completely erase me. And then, right when we were building our case, the craziest thing happened. I got a call from the sheriff. Are you Brandon Miller? The voice asked. My stomach dropped. No, that's my brother. Why? The sheriff sighed. We found a trailer registered to your family name dumped on private property. The owner's pressing charges. It's full of construction waste, and the business license number matches yours. I nearly passed out. Brandon had bought decals with my business info on them and slapped them on a junk trailer he dumped behind a closed strip mall. It was a trap. A setup. He was trying to get me arrested, or at the very least, find enough to hurt our bottom line. But here's the thing, the cops weren't stupid. They'd already started digging into it before calling. And when they pulled the security cam footage, guess who they saw driving the truck? Not me. Brandon. And that's when the real unraveling began. The moment the sheriff told me they had Brandon on camera, everything changed. Suddenly, I wasn't the one under the microscope. He was. I could finally breathe again. My name was cleared, and law enforcement had what they needed to open an official investigation into his little sabotage stunt. I thought that would be the end of it. That maybe now, with the walls closing in, Brandon would finally back off, maybe even try to settle. I was wrong. Instead, he doubled down. Within a week, he posted a second video. This one even more unhinged than the last. Some people just can't stand to see you build. They'll lie, cheat, and call the cops to stop you. But I'm a soldier. I don't fold. I rise. This one got over 20,000 views. And guess who commented? My mom. Proud of you for staying strong. Don't let the hate in, baby. That cut deeper than anything Brandon did. She knew everything by now. I'd shown her the text, the lawsuit, the evidence. She knew. And still, she chose him. Rachel saw the comment before I did and slammed her phone down. You need to cut her off too. This is poison. I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. Not anymore. I felt like I didn't even recognize my own family. And then came the final straw. My daughter, Ellie, she's 14, came home from school in tears. Said some kid had shown her Brandon's video and made fun of her. Your dad's a scammer. They yelled at her on the bus. That was it. We filed the lawsuit that night. Defamation. Business interference. Fraud. And we turned over every piece of evidence to the police for criminal charges related to the trailer stunt. Things moved fast after that. Brandon got served at one of his networking brunches, which I heard was humiliating. The lawsuit was public. People started asking questions. Clients of his consulting business posted about being misled and scammed. One woman said she paid him $3,000 for personal coaching and got 3 copy-pasted emails and a PDF full of stolen Pinterest quotes. His house? Turns out it was already back in default. That refinance money? Gone. It was like watching a sandcastle crumble after one wave. But just when we were finally starting to feel safe again, get this, the real twist landed in our laps. A former friend of Brandon's named Kyle reached out to me through my business website. Subject line: I need to tell you something about your brother. In the message, he said, Brandon's been using your info for longer than you think. You might want to check your taxes. He's been pulling some stuff behind your back, years ago. I froze. I went digging, and with Kyle's help, I uncovered something I never expected. Brandon had filed for a business loan in my name 2 years ago. A $35,000 SBA disaster loan meant for COVID recovery. He forged the signature, used an old address, and had the money sent to a dummy LLC. And here's the kicker, it never showed up on my credit report because he paid just enough to keep it quiet, then defaulted after 6 months. I called our accountant, who immediately spotted the fake entry in my 2021 tax return. It had been slipped in via an amended form, sent in online. So now, not only was Brandon a scammer, but he'd committed federal fraud using my identity. We handed all of it to the authorities. This wasn't just a civil case anymore. It had gone full-blown criminal. 3 weeks after we handed over the SBA loan evidence, the feds stepped in. The investigation kicked into high gear. Turns out, Brandon had applied for 3 different COVID relief loans under variations of my name, old business names, and even a dissolved LLC I'd shut down years ago. The paper trail was sloppy, but enough to trigger charges. One morning I got a call from Kyle again. Check the news. I did. Local entrepreneur arrested in federal fraud scheme involving COVID relief funds. Right there on the screen was Brandon in handcuffs, walking down the steps of his rented house in a stained hoodie, sunglasses pushed up on his head like he thought he was still some celebrity. It didn't feel good like I thought it would. It felt hollow. There was a long pause in our house after that. I looked at Rachel. She didn't smile. She didn't say, I told you so. She just whispered. Finally. Later that day, Mom called. This time, her tone had changed. I didn't know, she said softly. I didn't know it was this bad. I said nothing. She cried quietly on the line. He told me you were lying. That you were jealous. I wanted to believe him. That's the part that hurts the most, I replied. You wanted to believe him, even after the proof. She came over the next day with a shoebox full of old papers and photos. I figured it was some kind of peace offering. Inside, I found Brandon's old report cards, drawings from kindergarten, pictures of us as kids. At the bottom of the box was something I never expected, a notebook from our dad. I didn't talk much about our dad before. He died when we were in high school. Hard-working guy. Quiet. He ran a mechanic shop until cancer took him out early. Turns out he kept a journal. In the final entries, he wrote about his worries. One page, dated about a year before he died, stopped me cold. Brandon's lying again. Said he paid back the $500 for the car parts, but I know he didn't. I want to believe he'll grow out of this. I want to believe he's just scared. But it feels like this is who he's becoming. Rachel read it over my shoulder. It was always going to end like this, she whispered. It was like a curse had been passed down, and no one stopped it. A few months later, Brandon was convicted of wire fraud and identity theft. Got 3 years in federal prison with supervised release after. The judge didn't buy his entrepreneur trying to survive COVID act. Especially not after seeing the Tesla videos. He never reached out after the trial. Never apologized. But that wasn't the end of it. Because now that Brandon was gone, the family didn't know where to stand. Some relatives quietly came around and apologized. We didn't know he was that far gone. Others? They just went silent. Never contacted us again. Even after the conviction. But the real shocker came during Christmas. Mom invited us to dinner. Just me, Rachel, and Ellie. Said it would be small. Quiet. Just family. She promised. We showed up. The tree was lit, the table set. And sitting there at the table was Brandon's wife. Not ex-wife. Still married. Still loyal. And the moment she saw us, she stood up and said, You owe us. I thought it was a joke. We walked into that house expecting a quiet holiday dinner, just my mom, my wife, my daughter, and maybe a neighbor or two. Instead, Brandon's wife, Jessica, was standing there like nothing had happened. Like her husband hadn't just gone to federal prison for defrauding me, her own brother-in-law. And then she hit me with, You owe us. Rachel practically dropped her purse. Ellie clung to her coat, sensing tension in the room. I raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? Jessica crossed her arms, completely serious. Brandon said you destroyed his life. That money was never meant to come between you two. And now I'm left here with nothing, trying to raise 2 kids while you sit in your fancy house pretending to be the victim. Mom said nothing. She just stood behind Jessica, lips tight. I looked around the table. 2 plates set for us. 5 total. No cousins. No neighbors. This whole dinner was a setup. Rachel stepped forward. You're joking, right? Your husband stole from us, dragged our family name through the dirt, tried to ruin our business, and you think we owe you? Jessica's eyes welled up. I didn't know what he was doing. He told me it was your idea. He said you wanted to funnel money to avoid taxes, that it was a family thing. I blinked. He said what? He said you told him to file for those loans under your name to protect the business. She whispered. That if anything went wrong, you'd handle it. That's when it all made sense. She really believed it. For years, she'd been backing him up, defending him, even as things got worse, because he made it sound like he was the fall guy for me. I turned to my mom. And you believe that too? She didn't look at me. Just quietly said, it's not always easy to know who your children really are. Rachel lost it. He committed federal crimes. He almost got your other son arrested. And you still let this woman come in here and say we owe them? That's when Jessica snapped. You know what? Maybe we wouldn't be in this mess if your husband hadn't dangled money over Brandon's head like some big hero. Maybe if he hadn't made him feel small all the time. Small? I interrupted. I bailed him out. I saved your house. I gave him $50,000 when he was too ashamed to tell you the truth. And what did I get in return? Identity theft, a slander campaign, and a broken family. Mom stepped between us, voice shaking. Enough. Both of you. This isn't why I brought you here. Then why did you bring us here? I asked. Silence. Then Jessica spoke again. Because we need help. The house is getting foreclosed again. I don't have a job, and I can't cover the bills. Brandon's lawyers cost everything we had left. My jaw clenched. You've got some nerve. And then she reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. This is from Brandon. He wanted me to give it to you. I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper, handwritten in Brandon's messy scrawl. You won, man. I get it now. You always had the edge, business sense, the right friends, the patience. I thought I could fake my way to your level. I couldn't. But I also know this, I'm not done. When I get out, I'm starting over. And if there's still room at the table for me, maybe we can talk. Until then, take care of Jess and the kids. You always were better at that stuff than me. B. I stared at it for a long time. I folded it, handed it back to Jessica and said, You're right. I am better at this. And that's why I won't let you guilt-trip me into saving you again. We left. Rachel didn't say a word until we got to the car. Did that feel like closure? She asked. I shook my head. Felt like a final warning. After that night, something in me shifted. I stopped trying to make sense of it all. I stopped trying to win over people who didn't want to see the truth. For years, I'd been trying to fix my family the way I fix up old houses, patch the leaks, sand down the rough edges, repaint the ugly parts. But you can't restore a foundation that's already crumbled underneath. And this one? It was dust. We spent the rest of the holidays just the 3 of us, me, Rachel, and Ellie. No chaos. No drama. Just cinnamon rolls, bad Christmas movies, and peace. A few weeks later, I got a call from our lawyer. You sitting down? He asked. Why? Brandon's appealing. He's trying to say you coerced him into the fraud. Claims you pressured him into taking out those loans. I laughed. So he's doubling down. Oh, it gets better, the lawyer said. He filed a counter-lawsuit. Says you're trying to financially destroy his family and cause emotional distress to his children. I blinked. You mean the ones he left with no money, no house, and no income? Yep. I felt my blood boil, but something surprising happened. I didn't react. I just said, add it to the pile, and hung up. Rachel was proud of me. That's growth, she said. Old you would have driven to the jail with a brick. The appeal didn't go anywhere. The judge tossed it out within 2 weeks. The countersuit? Dead on arrival. Our documentation was ironclad. Every lie Brandon told was crushed by texts, emails, receipts, IP logs, and court records. But it wasn't just about the court anymore. It was about who we were after the storm. I'll be honest, I had to go to therapy. Rachel did too. We had to untangle years of guilt, misplaced loyalty, and the idea that family means forever, no matter how deep the wounds go. Ellie needed help too. Kids see and hear more than we realize, and the bullying on the bus had shaken her up more than she let on. And somewhere in the middle of all that healing, we got an unexpected message. From Kyle, Brandon's ex-friend who helped expose the SBA fraud. He wanted to meet. Said he had something he'd been holding on to, something that might help us close the chapter completely. So we met up at a diner off the interstate. He looked worn down, like the whole thing had aged him too. Said he felt guilty. Said there was one last thing we deserved to know. I don't think Brandon ever planned to pay you back, he admitted. Even before he asked for that 50 grand, he was bragging about having a backup plan. He told me, worst case, I just burned the bridge. My brother's too soft to really do anything. I felt that punch in my gut again. But he also told me something else. Kyle said. Said you always looked out for him when you were kids. Said you were the only one who kept him out of trouble. And that, deep down, you were the only one he was ever scared to disappoint. I didn't know how to respond to that. Maybe it was true. Maybe not. But it made one thing clear, Brandon wasn't a monster. He was a coward. And he'd been running from himself a long time. The real tragedy wasn't what he did to me. It was that he never gave himself the chance to be better. A few months later, Jessica lost the house. Moved back in with her parents. I heard through a cousin that she was working part-time at a daycare. Her kids were doing okay, considering everything. I thought about sending something, school supplies, grocery cards, but Rachel talked me out of it. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do, she said, is nothing. Let them figure it out without dragging you back in. So I didn't. A full year passed after Brandon's arrest. The dust had finally settled. Our business not only survived the storm, it grew. Maybe it was karma, maybe just hard work and timing, but word got around that we fought back against the family smear campaign and came out stronger. We landed a few big contracts. Hired 2 new crews. Even opened a second office in the next county over. But more than that, we found peace. No more waiting for the other shoe to drop. No more late-night anxiety spirals or family gossip flying in like grenades. Just quiet days, steady work, family dinners that didn't end in arguments, and the sound of Ellie laughing again. One afternoon, I got a letter. Not from Brandon. Not from Jessica. From Mom. It was handwritten. Neatly folded. Smelled faintly like her old lavender perfume. I almost didn't open it, but something told me to. Dear son. I've made a lot of mistakes. The biggest one was choosing silence when I should have chosen truth. I wanted so badly to believe Brandon could be better. That if I just supported him enough, loved him hard enough, he'd grow out of the lying. But I see now, I was enabling him. And in doing so, I hurt you. I'm sorry for that. I didn't defend you when I should have. I didn't believe you when you were telling the truth. I've started going to counseling. It's not easy facing how much damage I let slide just because it was family. I don't expect forgiveness, not right away. But I hope, one day, we can sit down and talk, not about him. About us. I miss my son. Love. Mom. I read that letter 5 times. Then I handed it to Rachel. She didn't say much. Just nodded slowly and said, Your move. It took me a week to write back. Not a long letter. Just a note. I appreciate the apology. When you're ready for honesty, not just peace, we can talk. But I won't pretend things didn't happen. I'm building something healthy now. You're welcome in that space, but only if you respect the boundaries that come with it. I never got a reply. And that was okay. Because the truth is, not every story ends with a ribbon tied around it. Some family members never apologize. Some relationships stay broken. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do isn't rebuild, it's walk away with your dignity and never look back. Brandon gets out in a year. I don't know if he'll reach out. If he does, he'll find the bridge is gone. Not burned. Not destroyed. Just gone. Dismantled piece by piece, reclaimed and used to build something better. Because that's what I do, I build things. I fix what's worth saving. I protect what matters. And sometimes, the bravest thing a man can do is close the door. The end.